What is up, everybody? Hoang Zero here, and today I have for you all a deck profile based on Armor Rush in the BT8 English format. This list was given to me by one of my mods, Llama. Llama did see some success with this list, getting a win at a 10-man online webcam event, which, it's not a lot, but it's one of the first early BT8 events, so it gives us a little bit of a glimpse, and I know he's put a lot of time into testing this list as well, so I have a lot of faith that this list will serve a lot of you very well. So without further ado, let's get started. To kick us off, we're going to talk about one of the strongest early game aggression tools that you do have in this deck, Fire Rocket. Fire Rocket is a one-cost red option that states if you have a Digimon with armor in its trait, you can play this card without meeting color requirements. And one of your Digimon with 2 or more color gains +1 security attack. In the security effect, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with blocker. So the main effect is actually very, very strong. So it's very similar to, say, Atomic Inferno or Lightning Joust, where it's that +1 security attack. But A, Atomic Inferno only works with hybrids, and it's a bit stronger on its own, obviously, and B, Lightning Joust only works if you are at equal or less security than your opponent. Fire Rocket is a lot more generic, and it doesn't have these restrictions that you'd have to worry about. Granted, it does not give you the DP that Lightning Joust or Atomic Inferno would give you. However, because you are an armor deck that comes with Purge, it's actually totally fine. So what ends up happening, right, is so you would swing, say, a Flame Dramon with the +1 security attack, and Flame Dramon hypothetically were to crash into something and were to purge. By doing so, you go down to your level 3, who then still carries the additional security attack, so it would still do the extra damage, which is why this is such a powerful card in armors. Now, the security effect itself, the security effect is okay. One of the biggest things that you'll notice is that a lot of decks that do have blocker, mainly X Antibody, their blocker is only during the opponent's turn, so you actually won't be able to resolve that Fire Rocket ESS. Fire Rocket security effect, unfortunately. But regardless, it can still come up in handy, especially if your opponent, for whatever reason, is playing generic blockers. Now, Mask Change, on the other hand, allows you to target one hero monster. JK. We have Armor Texture, or as it should have been called, Digi-Armor Energized. It is a 0-cost white option that states if you have a Digimon with armor in its trait, you are able to ignore the color requirements. The main effect is to trash the top card of one of your Digimon with armor in its attribute, and then one of your Digimon can Digivolve into a Digimon with armor in its hand by paying its cost, and if you do, unsuspend that Digimon. Security effect, you may play one level 3 Digimon with free attribute from your hand or trash without paying its cost. Okay, so breaking this down, this is basically a Mask Change, more or less, in Digimon form. What this will allow you to do is allows you to go from one armor to another armor with a restand as well, allowing you to further extend a lot of your plays. So for example, if you swing Flame Dramon happens to live, cool, you can Mask Change into a Rage Dramon and then swing again. And so you get a lot of that aggression going. If you happen to preemptively Fire Rocket it as well, oh man, you get a lot of damage going, because then that +1 security attack will carry over. You can all use this in combination with cards like Magnamon as well, if you do want to go from one armor to another and get that blocker going as well. And the security effect is also very strong because it does increase the amount of bodies you do have on your board. So overall, this version of Mask Change is pretty sweet. Now finally, the last key card we're going to talk about is the SR for the BT8 set, and specifically see it a lot in armors, Magnamon. Magnamon is a 4-cost evolution over yellow or blue, but if you Digivolve from Vmon, it does only cost 3. Magnamon has both blocker and armor purge, which again, armor purge is if this Digimon is deleted, you may trash the top card of the Digimon and then Digivolve down into the level 3. And when Digivolving, unsuspend this Digimon, and it gets +2000 DP until the end of your opponent's turn for every armor you have in your trash. So, okay. Magnamon, I've made a short about this before, and I've talked about Magnamon a little bit. Magnamon is essentially a level 6 in the body of a level 4. It comes with blocker, a restand, it can get pretty beefy as well, and it's accessible very early on into the game. Magnamon is actually very, very powerful as a card. A 7000 DP threshold on a level 4 is fantastic. Paying 3 memory in a armor deck with you have Hammer Sparks, Kent Davis, etc. is not too difficult. The unsuspend is fantastic because it allows you to get even more damage into you. And the +2000 DP is pretty great because it's not hard at all to get 1 armor in trash before going into Magnamon, which will then make you 9000 DP, which then means you are able to block any Pyildramon coming at you. So that hard walls a lot of Imperial Dramon's aggression. So overall, Magnamon is a very, very excellent card. Now, going into the different tech options that you may explore in the armor style of deck, armors are a very inherently aggressive style of deck, but sometimes you just don't have enough gas to push against opponents, especially opponents who understand like what the win con of your deck is and decide to just turtle it out and wait until you run out of gas. So that's why we do find cards like Chimeramon or Lobomon to be very excellent, because then it gives you an extra extender to which you can try and lethal your opponent before they can close you out. And then you can also look into using, say, Shakomon top end or Pyldramon top end to see how much more you can add, fuel to the gas tank. That's another really excellent thing I do want to mention. So we did see some lists playing Stingmon as well to go into Pyldramon top end, and then previously made a video on Shakomon top end that just incorporates the regular armor style. And so yeah, there's a lot of different things that you could try and test. Now going into the matchups for your deck, this deck is pretty interesting in terms of matchups. So obviously matchups where they have a much stronger grind game, they can just take you to the state of the game where you just are out of gas. Mastemon, Shakomon, and Yellow Hybrid are prime examples of this, where they have a lot of inherent healing and whatnot, and they also have ways to break through your armors with even post-purge. And that's specifically DP reduction, right? So with DP reduction, what happens is the armor will die, and then you'll go down to your level 3, and then the DP reduction will apply to level 3, and then it'll die anyway. So all Maste, Shaco, and Yellow Hybrid, they all have DP reduction, which is very, very annoying to deal with as an armor style of deck. So you definitely do have to be wary of those matchups. Favorable matchups, on the other hand, Imperialdramon is even or favorable in Armor's favor because Magnamon is able to hardwall the Pyldramon, and Chimeramon is able to board wipe post-Dragon Mode turn. And then X-Antibody is slightly favored, or probably even, just because you have so much early aggression while they're trying to set up, and you are able to use Mega Death, which can blow out the Oriumon. And now what you've all been waiting for, finally, we have the deck list. So this deck list was given to me by my mod, Llama. Llama, again, put a lot of time into this list, and so I feel very confident. I played it a little bit myself. It feels very smooth, so I think a lot of you will enjoy this list. To kick us off, we do run the 4 Upamon. Upamon is just a very strong staple in the style of deck. We don't run X Vmon. The only source of jamming we do have is the regular Vmon, so we don't get a lot of mileage out of the jamming Demi Vmon, so Upamon is just overall the most generic and strong egg in this situation. We do play the 4 Jamming Vmon. Jamming Vmon is absolutely ridiculous in this style of deck, mainly because your armors have strong synergy with the Jamming Vmon and Fire Rocket, because, again, like I mentioned before, if you swing your armor and then the armor were to purge, assuming you had preemptively prepped the Fire Rocket, then the Jamming Vmon will carry over. Jamming Vmon won't die into security. It's just really strong synergy. And Jamming Vmon also, of course, has strong synergy with Magnamon, because then you get that restand. And then we do have 3 of the BT8 Vmon. So normally the BT8 Vmon doesn't see a lot of mileage in the Imperialdramon style deck, but that's because you have an opportunity to bot deck your X Vmon and Stingmon. Whereas in armors, well, most of your cards are half blue. So that being the case, you do get a lot of mileage out of the BT8 Vmon this time around. We played 2 EX1 Vmon. This Vmon does have good synergy with Magnamon, making Magnamon into a 2-cost evolution. It works in tangent with the armor texture as well, and Ken Davis. So you do have a lot of cards that can trigger the EX1 Vmon, and then you do play 2 starter deck Old Force Vmon because the extra draw is fantastic, especially in the early game where you're playing armors. You're not digivolving like a traditional style of deck, so you're trying to refill your hand to get more gas in the tank. These 2 slots, the EX1 Vmon and the Star Deck Old Force Vmon, are very interchangeable. Mix and match them however you wish, but a lot of the Vmons are very fantastic. And then you do play 3 of the Starter Deck Imperialdramon Vmon, where in this case it just searches for most of your cards because most of the Vmon line is a free attribute Digimon. Going into your level 4s, of course, this is where the star of the show lies. We do play the 2 Lobomon because, again, as we've previously mentioned, you do want a closer. The reason we choose Lobomon over Korikaku, or not Korikaku, I guess Korikaku, yeah. The reason we choose it over Korikaku is so if you have to Evo into Lobo, it only costs 2 rather than 3, and the reason we choose it over Kuma is because 5000 DP is an excellent threshold to swing into security, because Stingmon, XVmon, and Gatomon are all 4k, so if you swing security and you survive, then you potentially open up a Chimera lethal angle. Now we do play the 4 Ragedramon. Ragedramon is one of the stronger armors, again, in the set. Being able to tap any level 4 in the game and then swing. That means Gatomon, Hard Slam from Mastemon is very easily punishable from this standpoint. We play 4 Flame Dramon. Flame Dramon gains plus 3000 DP when attacking, and so it becomes an 8000 DP swing, which for a level 4, that's very excellent. In combination with Fire Rocket, you can get a lot of mileage going out of that. So Flame Dramon is overall a very strong early aggression piece. And then the 4 Magnamon, because like we said, Magnamon is the strongest armor. It has the power of level 6 put into the body of level 4. You have the blocker, you have the restand, you have the DP plus, you have the purge, you have everything really. And then we play 2 Chimeramon as your only level 5. This is essentially an extender as well as a board wipe. Chimeramon is able to take on green, blue, red, yellow, and white. So there's 5 colors that's able to pull from in this deck, which means it can delete quite a bit of Digimon, especially post-Dragon mode turns where they're calling out Stigmon and XVmon, which are only 4000 DP. So you will end up deleting both of those. Chimeramon works with any 2 level 4s, so you can set up 2 armor stacks, swing, swing, go into Chimera for game for 0 cost. Going to our option lineup, we do play the 4 Hammer Spark. Hammer Spark is just an excellent extender. No reason not to play this card, especially in an early aggression style of deck. It's very akin to Rookie Rush, right? 3 Mega Death. Now this is kind of where a lot of lists divert. Like a lot of armor lists won't be running Mega Death. They'll be in favor of more aggressive pieces. And I think Mega Death is absolutely an insane card overall. It's a very excellent card in this format. Not only is it a phenomenal security check, but also from hand, it's not too bad for being 5 cost, because of course you can swing your armors and then end on Mega Death. Mega Death is very powerful in the sense that it will bounce back Oriyumon, which is a huge card in this format. Ophanimon Fall Down mode is another excellent target, or just large targets in general that you won't be able to touch because you lack the top end. So Mega Death is a very strong card. And you have a lot of ways to trigger it. Mainly, once you set up that Ken Davis, you will have access to Mega Death for the rest of the game. 4 Fire Rocket, it's an early aggro deck. Why would you not play the card that gives you +1 security attack? If you open 1 Fire Rocket, you feel great. If you open 2 Fire Rocket, you are sending your opponent to the Shadow Realm. And then 3 Mask Change, or Armor Texture if you will. This card, it can be a little bit bricky, because sometimes you just don't have enough memory to extend your combos. But overall, it's still a very powerful card. It's a very powerful security check. It's just an excellent card overall, so 3 doesn't hurt too bad. And then our Tamer lineup also looks a tad strange, but we'll explain that in a second. So then we played 2 Davis. Davis is not very likely to hit both a blue and a green component. The only green Digimon you do have in this deck is the Raydramon, which is fine. It's not a bad thing whatsoever, but still, having the Memory Tamer is nice. But more importantly, we do play the 4 Ken Davis. So the reason we play 4 Ken Davis and not a 3-3 split that you might see in regular Imperial Digimon is because of the utility Ken Davis happens to provide for the rest of this deck. So obviously, it's not super hard to get the blue component off of Ken Davis, right? The green component is a little bit trickier. What the real thing that we do want to mention is, Ken Davis does stack. So when your opponent tries to race you back, because they feel pressured, they feel like if they don't race you, then they're going to lose out on that damage race. If they hit a Ken Davis with a huge tempo swing, it does stack. You feel great on ending turn on Ken Davis as well, because once they start adding up, you can get a lot of value. But more importantly, Ken Davis has the ability, if you are to digivolve into one of your armors, you will get a restand. So why the restand is so significant is because it allows you to continue on those, aggressive plays. So for example, you could swing Raydramon. Raydramon happens to purge, you go back into that level 3, and then suddenly, you digivolve into Flame Dramon, tap Ken Davis, get that restand, and you start popping off. Ken Davis has a lot of synergy with the armor style of play, and so because it is such an explosive card and it can swing the matchup very heavily into your favor, we do play the 4-2 ratio. Of course, you can go back to a traditional 3-3. That's completely fine as well, but for the sake of trying to capitalize on the amount of aggression that armors can provide, we do go with a 4-2 split. So without further ado, thank you all so much for watching this video. Once again, thank you to Llama for providing this list to me. I hope you all found this educational and, just entertaining in general. So, thanks.